You also mentioned earlier that there was a way to go around probate, to circumvent it, and I believe it had to do with a trust. Please, after that nightmare of hearing how probate works, please tell us the way to not do it.
A revocable living trust, and people have to just get comfortable with the language, right? What it does, it can save you time and money. And as well, it can be added as a control over your assets. So a living trust can avoid the public, costly, and time-consuming court processes at death. Right? That's what probate is. And in capacity, let's talk about conservatorship or guardianship, which is another conversation that we need to have. It can let you provide for your spouse without disinheriting your children, which can be important in second marriages, and it can save estate taxes. Now, remember, as a disclosure, I am not a CPA. You have to consult with your CPA, but what I'm talking about is the general information. And it can protect inheritance from children and grandchildren from the courts and creditors, spouses, divorces, divorce proceedings, and irresponsible spending. So what I'd like to say is this: with a living trust, you take control and you dictate the narrative of how this is going to play out. I've heard nightmares of inheritance theft. I've heard nightmares. So most people are probably, they've heard the term like a trust fund baby. Can you imagine putting $1 million in the hands of an 18-year-old without any restrictions? What a trust will do is you can dictate different percentages and different things that the person must do, like imagine having a record with the police, maybe having a gambling problem or substance abuse problem. Those things are put in the wording so that it's almost like you're still managing your family and your household. You're just not there anymore. You're letting the documents do the talking for you if it's done right.
Sounds like it's a way that you can continue to provide guidance, wise teaching, love, protection, even when you maybe can't act or speak the way that you used to. And especially if you have passed on to glory, you can continue to love your family well by putting up these guardrails. You used a word, and I know that here at Trusted Covenant, we really don't want to be about the jargon, the legalese, but I do think it's important to educate people about these words so that they lose their intimidation factor. And so you referred to the living trust as a revocable living trust. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What does that mean? What does the word revocable mean?
Let me talk about the difference between a living trust and a testamentary trust. So
Okay.
a testamentary trust is not something that we, advocate, and let me explain why. The basic difference between a testamentary trust and a living trust is when the trust is organized. So a testamentary trust is established when the grantor dies, whereas a revocable living trust is established while the grantor is still alive. So that means that you are the one that's navigating. You're in the driver's seat. That's what a living trust does. A testamentary trust is part of a person's will. There's a big difference. Because it has the word trust in it doesn't mean that it does exactly what it's supposed to do. As a result, a testamentary trust, it cannot come into existence until the will enters the probate process. And we already talked about the probate process, right? So testamentary trusts are seldom used since avoiding probate is a high priority for most well-established plans.